Hi, I'm Kit Falbo, author of The Crafting of Chess, and today I want to talk about characterization, the and how to create characterization in writing. Um, it is really the concept of how your characters relate to everything in the book and how you show that. I know this sounds really vague, but it actually is something quite specific that you can learn to do to improve your writing. It's actually one of those funny things that's easier to talk about what it is not and why it is not those things in order to get to the description of what exactly crafting characterization in fiction is. It is not the description of your character. You could have an awesome picture of your character with a skirt running down their face or vibrant hair or anything like that. It's not the character looking in the mirror and describing themselves. That's not building character or characterizations. That's simply a description. That's true with their identity, with their job. All of those things come with assumptions. And assumptions are very valuable in writing, and I want to get to that at a later date. They're things that you build upon and subvert for the story to help make it interesting. But I want you, and then you kind of use those as a framework along with tropes and archetypes. But for characterization is completely different than that. Um, Characterization is really not something you want to subvert, with some very exceptions, like you're doing a big final twist at the end. And even then, it's kind of tricky because characterization is one of those things like voice and narration that you want to keep mostly consistent in a story, because this is what is often going to attract your reader to the characters that you are creating. Now, like I said, with true characterization, you want to relate how your character interacts with things. And you want to try your best to show and not tell, though telling isn't always bad. And there are certain tricks you can do. You can tell the audience that your reader hates a specific person. And then you basically, whenever you tell something, you either want to follow up with a supporting showing. So you show through actions and dialogue and mannerisms to really ingrain that into the reader. And you show the opposite. You can say, I really hate this person, yet all of their actions show opposite, which you can play on in different ways depending upon the plot. But it's really in the relation of how your character relates to friends, to families, to the situation, to events, how that show characterization. You can also think of it when you think about fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Anything that is active and reacting to a situation, you can use those to build consistency for how your character behaves, or even the slow process of changing if you're going to make that their plot point. They freeze, but then they become a fighter or something like that. But you really want to show how the character feels about people, places, things. And in that is where you're going to find the hurt of characterization in writing. It's actually easier and harder to do it in first person, because in first person you have the main character and it's very egotistical, so it's often easier just to focus on them and not the other characters in the book. But it's also, you're always in that character, you're always having them react and relate to things. So it's very much easier for that character, but as a whole, it can become tricky, especially with how the narration goes with first person, because it's often unreliable and often has the characters missing things, and that's often key that they don't see things. So it can make the overall characterization in the novel tricky. Third person has its own problems of characterization, because you kind of have to insert it seamlessly into the action and the plot to help show who the character is to the reader. kind of like dialogue versus internal monologue as ways to show that. So you have dialogue, what they say to others, and then you have the internal monologue showing how they feel. You can often play those against each other to help create this image for the reader. Now, there are a lot of different exercises you can do when you want to practice characterization, because this is one of the things that I find that many writers need to improve upon, and that can often be done by you write. This is when they tell you to take your character and put them in a new scene that's not in your book. This is when this type of exercise comes into play. You take your character and you put them in a variety of stressful situations, and you're looking to try to practice getting that consistent feeling of how they'll behave and how to display that for the audience that is reading your book. Are they uncomfortable? Are they angry? You also want to use non-verbal cues. Now, there's two ways to improve upon this. I mean, in real life, you pay very close attention to how people behave. Or you can take an acting class. An acting class is actually, I find, to be one of the more valuable tools for a writer, because it helps, in a good acting class, to help teach you how to use those cues to show emotion, and then you have to translate that into the writing for that you are trying to do. Now, as I get into the details, like, oftentimes I find that it is best to have your main character not be an island. A lot of times you see these orphaned, has no friends, because they feel like displaying them as an outsider is a easier way to both not have baggage and to connect with the reader, having sympathy for them. But it is important to show how a character treats people they like, treats people they don't like, and treats new people they meet. And all these three things will often build a solid formation for saying, hey, this is who this character is. This is how you can generally expect them to behave in this situation. A lot of times if you want them to act out of character, that's when you want to apply extreme stress to the main characters or the side characters, and then use that as both an excuse and an example that lets you continue on. It's often important when you're a plotter and you need to force a character to do something that they have some resistance in doing. But now you can also do this with objects. Do they have a favorite object? I like to use the red stapler from Office Space as a good example of building character through inanimate objects, and also how much somebody cares about something because it's their favorite. I also like to but this can be done with any object that your character has some sentimental value for them. Just by having sentimental value reveals information about what type of person this is. Is it a person that values objects over people? Is it a person that values objects with a very specific meaning? And how that plays into the part of creating their character. I know this all sounds really vague, but you really want to land clearly on showing how the character feels about things, because you'll find that this is the best way to develop character and to have the audience actually understand them good enough to want to follow the character through to the end. Now, this includes passions, like do they really want to win a prize? Do they really want to attract the attention of somebody else? And you're going to show how they relate to the act of doing that. Are they a methodical planner? Are they impulsive? or they spur of the moment. It's kind of like impulsive, but and and you want to work all of this into the story, and this is how you build characterization for the characters, and often, and that is going to be what I recommend that you do if you want to improve characterization. If you want to follow me, you can like this on YouTube, follow me on Twitter, look at my books. I'm not expecting anyone to see this. This is mostly for me, but welcome fans, questions, suggestions for ideas to talk on. Just click the like button, leave a comment. I hope you all enjoy this. If you know that's Thanksgiving today, have a happy Thanksgiving.